Okay, today we are going to talk about decimals and percents. And by the end of this lesson, you should be able to say, I can convert decimals into percents. Let's start by looking at some percent models. I have a grid here, and if you'll look, it's a 10 by 10 grid. 10 going down, 10 going across. 10 times 10 is 100, so this grid has 100 squares in it. Remember when we were talking about percents in the last unit, and we said per means for every, and cent means 100. So when we're talking about percents, we're actually talking about what we can expect for every 100. If I wanted to make 25% on a grid that has 100 squares, I would shade in 25 squares. 25 out of 100 is 25%. If I wanted to shade in 75% of a 10 by 10 grid, I would shade in 75 squares. 75 out of 100 is 75%. Same thing with 80%. If I wanted to show 80%, I would take my 10 by 10 grid and shade in 80 squares. 80 out of 100 is 80%. 5% would be 5 squares. 5 out of 100 is 5%. If I only had 5/10 of a percent, I can only shade in 5/10 of a square. 5/10 out of 100 is 5/10%, or half percent. If I wanted to shade in 150%, I would need two 10 by 10 grids. I would shade in 150 squares. Notice all of the first square is shaded in. One whole square shaded in represents 100%. If I'm shading in more than 100%, I would need two grids to represent there is more than one whole grid shaded in. 125% would need two 10 by 10 grids. And again, I would shade in all of the first grid because there's more than 100%. And 25 from the second grid to show that there are 25 more than 100%. 25% more than 100%. Let's quickly review place value before we start to convert decimals into percents. If I look at this number, the digit directly to the left of the decimal point, the 6, is in the ones place. The 2 is in the tens place. The 5 is in the hundreds place. And the 1 is in the thousands place. If I were to go to the right of the decimal, the 7 is in the tenths place. The 0 is in the hundredths place, and the 8 is in the thousandths place. If I were to read this number, I would say 1,526 and 708 thousandths. Remember, when we're naming decimals, we always name the place value of the very last digit at the end of the number. Let's look at these decimal numbers and name each one in words. Number 1, 0.3 is 3/10. Number 2, 0.45 is 45 hundredths. Number 3, 0.07 is 7 hundredths. Number 4, 0.25 is 25 hundredths. Number 5, 0.05 is 5 hundredths. And number 6, 0.125 is 125 thousandths. Now let's write the fraction for each decimal. Writing the fraction for a decimal is very easy. You read a decimal the same way you would read a fraction. So number 1, 3/10 would be written 3/10. And we read that fraction 3/10. Number 2, we would write 45 over 100, 45 hundredths. Number 3, we would write 7 over 100, 7 hundredths. Number 4 will be written 25 over 100 and read 25 hundredths. Number 5 would be written 5 over 100 and read 5 hundredths. And number 6 would be written 125 over 1,000, and it would be read 125 thousandths. When we convert a decimal into a percent, remember percent means out of 100, all we need to do is take our fractions and turn them into fractions that have 100 in the denominator, just like we did in our ratios unit. 3/10 is equal to 30 over 100 because 10 times 10 is 100 and 3 times 10 is 30. 30 out of 100 is actually 30%, because remember, percent means out of 100. Number 2 is very easy because it's already written as a fraction out of 100. So 45 hundredths is equal to 45%. Number 3, 4, and 5 are the same. 7 out of 100 equals 7%. 25 out of 100 equals 25%. And 5 out of 100 equals 5%. When we look at number 6, we notice 1,000 is more than 100. It's 10 times more than 100. So to turn that into a fraction, I would need to divide the numerator and denominator by 100 so that I can find the percent. I'm sorry, you would divide it by 10 to get 100 so that I can find the percent. So 125 divided by 10 is 12.5, and 1,000 divided by 10 is 100. 12.5 out of 100 is 12.5%. In your notebooks, complete the table on this screen. You can pause the video at any time so that you have enough time to copy this table into your notes and complete the fraction and the percent column. If you have any questions, go back and watch this video from the beginning or rewind to the part where you feel that you need more help.